Once again, we have another Connecticut specialty here. Justin the Fort Sumner joining us here, which you guys might recognize because he's been all over the UFC lately. He's been on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Week 7, he was on Pure Evil MMA just before that week. And obviously, he trained alongside Nick Newell for a couple of years now. But I don't even want to start there. We're going to get to that in just a second, and the path, like a different path to the UFC. I mean, there's so much we can talk about here, but I really want to start off talking about something that, like, I was... Of course, like, I'm a big fan of YouTube, so, like, I get sucked down, like, all these different rabbit holes and shit. And I've always had, like, an interest in, like, the dark side of MMA and, like, not, like, deaths or anything like that, but, like, there's been a lot of Bullshido, they call it, where it's, like, fake martial arts with, like, the death of touch and stuff like that. Have you ever, like, watched the cringe videos that they have out there? There's a whole bunch of guys out there that...
like, I remember first getting onto it because... it was, I guess it was Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was talking about, like, how, like, these guys, they just, like, get thousands of people just to buy in. And then, they do the demonstration, and they're just looking at them real hard, and they fall back. And I'm like...
There's been a bunch of people, like, debunk it, too. Did you know that, obviously the movie Bloodsport?
Yeah.
Like,
that's favorite movie ever. Best movie. Like, I have this incident where I was upstairs in my room, and my roommate, he was, like, turning the TV, and he was just flipping through it real fast. And I heard... like the music when he gets the sand thrown in his face, and I'm like, hey, that was Bloodsport. He was like, what do you mean? Like, turn it back like a couple channels, Bloodsport was on, and so it was on. So that's one of my favorite movies right there.
I remember interviewing Mayhem Miller a couple years ago. He was like, that movie inspired me. But, like, I was watching some crazy documentary some dude did, and it was about how Bloodsport is actually based... Did you know it's based on a true story, first off?
Yeah, Kumites. Yeah, they used to do Kumites all the time. And, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of like that idea of, just getting a bunch of people from all over getting them to fight each other, especially when I was a kid. I was like, man, that's like, ultimately, that's not what I want to do, but that would be cool to do. And,
Well, like, back in the day, first off, back in the day, there was, like, shoot boxing, right? Yeah. Which was kind of, like, another underground thing, and then people started coming over, but there was a lot of people during that time period that got called out because their past careers weren't actually credentialed. So, like, if you go to a gym, how do you know, like, your instructor is credentialed? Like, how do you actually get down to the root of it? Like, find out the lineage and stuff like that? Like,
well, like, to me, it's not that big. It's kind of what have you done? You know what I mean? That's been my mentality ever since I started. It was like, I'll go to a gym and train with them, and, granted, they might know things. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows things, different stuff, but have you actually, stepped in the cage, like, been punched in the mouth, like, punched somebody else in the mouth, So having that experience in the cage kind of, not to say puts you on another level than someone that has, like, been in, like, the academy for 10 years or so, but it just kind of gives them an edge, you know what I mean? Because,
like, knowing they've been in a big organization or been, like, Abu Dhabi or something crazy like that.
Yeah, that kind of puts a not emphasis on what they teach, but kind of, hey, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. This guy's been there. He's kind of can relate, and that's ultimately why I went to Nick. I was with another gym before, and I thought they were a great gym. Not to say it was Henzo Gracie. Henzo Gracie is a great teacher.
Henzo, he tunes into Pure Evil MMA all the time.
Yeah. Henzo is great, but just the school I was at really wasn't going to get me to the level that I wanted to.
Isn't Nick under Henzo as well?
Well, he's trained with him. He's not under. He's under Jeremy. Jeremy, his last name is really hard to pronounce, so I don't want to slaughter
Jeremy's last name's really hard. It's like the old school commercials where you have to call by payphone. It's like, Bob, baby, it's a boy. His last name's really hard to announce.
Yeah, but he trains out of he's in Springfield. His home gym's in Springfield. So ever since I kind of hooked up with him, we kind of clicked, and I know he's been there, and he stepped back in the cage. So
was this like your amateur career?
Well, no.
When you were with them? Or?
No, my amateur career, I was with Henzo for 3 fights, because before I came up here to Connecticut, I moved up to Connecticut in 2014. I had 10 fights, 10 amateur fights.
You fought, like, UFC caliber fighters as well. Somebody that Eric Enders, right?
Yeah, I fought Eric
this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, hey, good job.
He's only lost to one guy ever, which is Leota.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's on my list to fight, you know what I mean? But I got to get there first, so, you know what I mean? It's still a journey, but that's definitely a guy that I want to run it back. Yeah, I had 10 fights
Yeah,
down
you had a
south,
long amateur career.
Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama. I
Was
fought
this fighting like every other weekend as
well,
an
not every
amateur?
other weekend. It was just I mean, I tried to fight at least maybe 4 times. I think one year I fought 5 times, but just stay active because I was in school. I wasn't trying to go pro. I wanted to really get experience because I knew this was something I wanted to do. So I really wanted to get experience as well as get my degree. I have a degree in Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering Technology.
Jesus.
So
Safety net, right?
well, I mean, not necessarily a safety net. I mean, I did the schooling, and it really wasn't that difficult. So I was like, I might as well get it because I'm not gonna be fighting all my life. And so after I get done fighting, I really want to be able to kind of relax and still provide.
You did wrestling in high school
Yeah,
or college?
wrestling in high school. Was going to do it in college, but they didn't really have a team. And then towards the end of my time there, they kind of got a team. But I just wrestled in college, and then like one of my good friends now, he said, I'm going to fight. And I was like, man, you can't fight because he was like a real skinny guy.
Yeah.
And I knew a little bit about MMA, but I didn't really know that much. And I saw him fight, and I was like, man, I could do that. And it kind of changed ever since. Started doing jiu-jitsu, won gold in Naga, and then like 2 weeks later, they asked me if I wanted to fight in Florida on a week's notice. And I was like, hey, why not? And I beat this guy, and I was like, hooked from then.
Hooked for then on.
Yeah.
Obviously, like in high school when you're going through wrestling, like I see a lot of kids. Like I remember in high school, I was on the football team, and like the wrestling kids would be like, "Oh, dude, you don't understand like what we had to go through." And I remember like wrestling in middle school and it being like brutal. Like kids like couldn't hang on. But like words of advice for kids that are in high school that just like get so hung up on themselves. It's like there's so much more. Like that's just like a learning block for the future. Like you learn a lot more in wrestling than I did in classes, or I learned a lot more in football than I did in classes when it came to like life skills and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, like one thing I think wrestling it just teaches you discipline, and not in the sense of hey, you do this, you do that, but kind of disciplining yourself because one, you have to make the weight. You know what I mean? The reason you make the weight because you have a team that you have to work with, that you have to train with, and they're counting on you to make this weight and to compete that night. So having that discipline to kind of know what you want, know what you have to do to get it, kind of is a foundation for life.
Is it kind of crazy that like kids in high school cut weight? Like, is that kind of a crazy thought? It's not much. But...
Well, you know what I mean. Like, I cut. Well, I really didn't cut weight because I kind of grew into each weight class that I was in. But I think it's what I mean. They should change it, but it's like that competitiveness. You know what I mean. If somebody wants to win, they're gonna be like, hey, you got to win, and so only way for you to win is to go down in weight.
So you already had like a wrestling background. You go into college because obviously like everyone's parents is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like even my friends today, it's like I see a lot of my friends are like working, their asses off like outside in the asphalt, and it's like, dude, I'm doing like what I love to do. Like I got like I'm making money on the side, but I get to do what I love to do, and people like always try to bash your dream or like give up, like. And I always find myself like on stumbling blocks where it's like, oh, are they right? You ever find yourself like frustrated with like how people view the sport and like
like
the future and like actually having a shot? Like it's frustrating.
Yeah, sometimes it gets frustrating, because you have this idea in your head, and having this idea, you think of all the options, and then you have like that nagging thought or that nagging person that comes and say, hey man, I don't really think this is the right thing for you to do. I don't really think this is gonna work.
And it's that one person that always sticks in your head. That
Yeah.
Not the 20 people that
because it's that going against the norm, and I think that's not necessarily ultimately necessary, but I think it's necessary for life, necessary for growth, because it's kind of your prerogative to take what he says and use it as a motivational tool. Or you can use it as a crutch, and you're like, oh man, maybe he's right. Maybe
that happens to a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Like they give in to that thought. It's so frustrating to see. Like I remember even people in my family, like when I was a little kid, them being like, oh, you want to be a pro football player? Do you know how hard that is? Like it's impossible. But yet, kids my age that same day were inspiring to do the same thing and made it to the NFL and made big dreams. Like why not me?
Yeah, there was this phrase. I gotta remember it, but it talked about how. People that put in the hard work and like that dedication, and then once they kind of succeed, they say people they call them ordinary people say, oh man, that's a God-given talent that he has, but they didn't see the cultivating and the hard work before that to get to there.
Starting from nowhere.
Starting from nowhere. So, you know what I mean? You have to really consider yourself. I consider myself to be extraordinary. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are like, oh man, that's cocky. But, you know, to be someone that kind of tries to succeed in every step, I have to think of myself extraordinary. You know, I have to do better than I did yesterday.
Well, there's a difference between cockiness and actually like believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you look at somebody like Conor McGregor, and there's a lot of people out there like, oh, what the hell is he doing? But if you get inside what he's actually doing,
Yeah.
like how it's actually a tactic to, one, his fight game, and two, his everyday living to motivate himself to push for more and believe that he can, like, behind you there's fucking Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
In that fight, Muhammad Ali was like, dude, I have to believe that I am the best in the world to become the best in the world.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter, when he was a little kid, Roger Maris breaking 61 home runs, everyone was against that guy breaking Babe Ruth's record. No one wanted him to break it at all. There was fun with Mickey, but not Roger. Like, it's just crazy, like, to watch how many people out there give up when they go through that hard time. People look at them like, oh, you're cocky, you're this, you're that. It's like, no, I actually believe in myself, and why can't it be me? Like, yeah, Derek Jeter over there, I read his biography as a kid, and in the book, like, one of the first couple of chapters, it's like, he walks into his parents' bedroom when he's like 6 years old, and he's like, I'm going to play shortstop for the New York Yankees. But they encouraged him. They're like, you can do that if you believe in it. And it's about, like, waking up and, like, training your brain how to, you know, maintain a positive attitude. What do you kind of do to, like, maintain that?
Well, like, it's kind of
hard to hold on to.
Well, it's kind of second nature for me because I really think my parents, my mom and my dad, my mom, my dad, my stepdad, and my stepmom, they were all extremely supportive. And, you know, my parents had this phrase, if it is to be, it's up to me. And you know what I mean, granted, like when I was little, I was like, you know, I guess I can say that. But, you know, not until, I would say, like 2 years ago, it really hit. You know what I mean? If it is to be, it's up to me. So, like, every step that I take, everything that I do, I have to push it toward my goal or push it towards anything I'm trying to accomplish, because if I don't do it, no one else is going to do it for me, and I'm not going to get what I want.
But someone else is also next in line to get where you're trying to go. Like, someone else is working for it at the same time.
Yeah.
The door's going to open at some point.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I mean, and, like, a pure example is, you know, my Contender Series fight. You know, I lost. I lost kind of in a bad fashion, but I don't take it as a loss because, one, not that many people have been in that spot.
He's 6-1 going in that fight. I think he's only lost one fight, or is he undefeated? Or?
No, he was 10-1.
And he's a tough guy. Like,
well, he was the number one guy not signed in the UFC. I'm the number 15 guy not signed in the UFC. So
I think you're like the number 3 in New England too. Like,
yeah, I'm number 3 in New England. Yeah. So, you know, I took that loss in stride. You know, granted, I was a little sad that, you know what I mean, I lost, but just that opportunity, being able to step up there. Now I know what I have to improve on. I know what I have to do. You know, I kind of take what what's his name? He's fighting Holloway.
Brian Ortega.
Like, you know, I mean, he kind of relishes in the fact that he might lose. You know, he wants to lose because he knows he can get better, and so he's always training to get better. If he loses, he can get even better. And you know, that's like the first time I lost. It was my first fight, and I did 6 straight wins. You know, 6 straight impressive wins. And so, you know, the world is just open right now. I'm just super excited. Not that I lost, but the future is super exciting.
Well, look at someone like Matt Bissett, also a guy from our area, got on the Contender Series, didn't win his fight, but his work ethic, like what he represents for New England, Dana White saw that and gave him a shot. And like his phone actually did end up ringing because he was consistent with it. Look at somebody like Jose Shorty Torres, man. He's
been after it a while, and see him in there and to succeed is really, really cool. Really
cool. Let's talk about Nick. Like, this got to be really frustrating for Nick on his end. How is he feeling with?
Well, you know what I mean. Like, granted, he was definitely upset the fight didn't go his way, but you know he's just still pushing. You know what I mean. Like, he wants to get in the UFC, and I think next year is definitely his year to get in the UFC. Like, he's just gonna keep pushing forward. He doesn't really have any quit in him, and you know it's really cool because I get to train with him, and it's just an awesome experience just to see his work ethic, and ever since being at his gym and seeing how hard he works, he just makes me work even harder.
Like, I remember interviewing Nick a couple of years ago, and they were like making a movie about. I'm like the same person that made like I think the name of it was like 23 Cloverfield Lane, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Right, and they were making a movie about it, and I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. Like if he gets the shot into the UFC, makes this fight, gets into the UFC, that's the Disney ending. But this is almost even more interesting. It's like you went through all the hard times, you were right there, and then it gets taken from you. What do you do now?
Yeah.
And this next part of the story is going to be the best part of it all.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this is the climax right
Yeah.
here. Like, and then the end of the movie, him opening up inside the octagon. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
Yeah, it's very, very, very cinematic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just him and his journey.
Even
it's,
at a young age, like the bowling that he's had to go, like it's so
yeah.
inspirational.
Well, you know what I mean? Like he's just an inspiration to just about everybody. Because a lot of people they really get down on themselves because they're like, oh man, I can't do this, I can't do that. He's like, what can I do? What else can I do? That's the kind of mentality he has, and just having that mentality, the world is open. Because if you say what I can't do, this is I can't do that, then you're not gonna do that. Definitely,
Yeah, I remember his post when you guys were about to leave. You were at the airport, and you guys like flicking off the camera.
Yeah.
Or Nick was like, fuck Vegas, but we'll be back.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What happened when you guys got back to the gym? What was did you guys have like a group meeting? Like, how did that all go?
Nothing really. Like we just said our what we feel we could have improved on in the fight, and that was about it. We didn't want to kind of fester on it or kind of think, oh man, I should have did this. But that happens because we're human. We think about that, but it was all just, hey, we're gonna go back to the drawing board and we're gonna get better. That's all really we talked about.
So I see, like to me, it's like, why wouldn't Dana? Well, first, before I even say that, it's kind of confusing that he was even on the Contender Series because he has so many fights. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have just like 6 or 7 or 8 fights. He has 17 pro fights or something close to that,
15,
right?
15. Yeah.
Like you don't see guys on the Contender Series with that many fights. I thought you would get like an actual shot on the prelims. Like,
Yeah.
what is it to you? Like, what is it?
Fight pass. Yeah.
What is it to Dana White to put him on the card?
Well, you know what I mean? Like it's the whole publicity behind it. So you say you get him a shot and something bad happens, and he's like, oh well. All the skeptics that were doubting him anyway, they're gonna like, oh, told you so. But it's I would say it's pure financial reasons. Like because if something happens, then they're like, oh well, that can make our partners look bad, and their partners have a big stake in it, and it's I don't know legitimately why he didn't want him in the UFC, but
I mean, the kid fought Justin Gaethje at one point in his
Yeah.
career. Like he's hold titles. He's proved himself.
Yeah,
He has
yeah.
proved himself time after time. So now I just interviewed Joe Giannetti, who's actually just on the Ultimate Fighter this season, and he started calling out Nick Newell. What do you think about that? I thouute that was a little weird.
Well, I did. I did see something, but I didn't read it. But I mean, it is what it is. People are gonna call out people.
It's a little hype, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you got the coming off the Ultimate Fighter, and you got Nick losing in the Contender Series, and that's kind of easy fight to make, because you're like, hey, I mean, both of these guys were on the UFC and fighting UFC caliber guys, and they can make that fight, but I don't think it's a good fight for Joe.
What was that atmosphere like at the Contender Series? Like, it's kind of awkward because...
It was hot.
Was it? Well, yeah, it's in Vegas. You're, like, in a gym. There's not a crowd. It's like family.
They don't have, like, air conditioning in there, so it's, like really hot in there. But,
yeah?
Yeah, but it was cool.
Is it awkward, though? Like, because there's no crowd. It's kind of like sparring in a gym or something?
Well, it was a little crowd. You know what I mean? I brought, like 7 people, and then, like
Nick waited out there for you, right?
Yeah, he stayed out there for me. Yeah, it was... I would say it was a little surreal, you know what I mean? Because you see it in like all the TV shows, The Ultimate Fighter, you see him open those doors and walk out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Back room,
and so, you know what I mean? Standing back there and them saying, hey, 1, 2, 3, go. It's kind of surreal, you walking out there, But I was kind of in a kind of tunnel vision, and I was trying to get prepared for the fight and stuff like that. But
did you rewatch the fight yet?
Yeah, we watched it a couple times, and I mean, I just made a technical error, and especially at that level, it's like you make one mistake, and it's like high risk chess. Like the guy has your king locked up, and you make a mistake, and it can end. It could have ended separately. Like he tried to capitalize, and I could have did something else, but just at that level, you can't really make mistakes. And I made a mistake, and it happens.
Do you talk to him afterwards?
Oh yeah, I said, hey, good job. It's no hard feelings. It's a sport. We're going there to do business. But definitely, I'll definitely run that back. When I get in the UFC. So yeah.
And as we know, there's you posted something earlier today on your Twitter, that was like, it was a quote or something, and it was like, there's all different paths to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And especially with the UFC, I mean, it's not that crazy for somebody to make it to the UFC. Like, it's obtainable.
Yeah. It's really obtainable. And a lot of people, they're like, this was your only shot and you blew it. And I don't think that. I got there doing what I was doing before, just going in there, winning. And winning in a good fashion, and I was there, so that's what I'm going to keep doing, So hopefully, not fighting any more this year. I will fight beginning of next year. So hopefully, I get a fight in CES, and then showcase my skills again.
Oh my God, CES! It's such like a homecoming when you go to those shows. Were you with Nick when recently at one of the last CES shows? I ran into Nick. This was before the Contender Series. Were you?
Yeah. Arslan. I think our boy Arslan was fighting.
Is that the Russian kid?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that the wrestler.
Yeah. Well, he has like a short buzz cut kinda and black hair and
yeah, he put on a good fight.
Yeah,
that was at CES.
Yeah, right.
With Rebello, right?
Yeah. Was it Rebello?
Or Dennis Piva. Dennis Piva versus
Yeah.
Newell.
Yeah. It was that fight. Yeah. So yeah, he's good. He's definitely got better things to come. So. He's a really good asset to the team.
So I had a fighter here. You're the second fighter to be in studio. This is actually all like new furniture.
Okay.
The people tuning in bought all this shit for us.
Oh, nice.
Which is actually like thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate that. But a huge part was the first episode. I had Harris Bonfiglio here, and he was like, he kind of blew me away with a sentence here. I'm gonna repeat it to you. I want you to give me your take on it, because I don't know what to think about it. I've heard it before. I don't really agree with it. Other journalists don't really agree with it. But I think it was crazy that a fighter said it, and he was like, my coach believes this. He was like, people around New England, fighters around New England, they don't fight top-level guys. What do you say to that? Do you think that's true? Where does that stand? Where does that come from? Why do people say that?
Well, like, I would say this. There's a niche for building up fighters. And so, towards the top of the line, I would say you'll fight high-ranked guys or fight high-ranked guys. Towards the bottom, you really want to build a fighter up, build a name up. So everyone, these guys
get a couple pro wins.
Get a couple pro wins, and that's ultimately that's nothing wrong with that. Just about everybody in the UFC did that exact same thing.
A pro fighter's a pro fighter. Like, you made it to a pro. You hold something, what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it's just you want to get used, because you're not going to fight a top guy your first fight. Well, I did, but you're not going to.
Who was your first fight?
Tim Karen.
Okay.
Tim Karen, when he was 6-0 or 5-0 in Bellator. Yeah.
Damn.
So I like to get thrown in it with the sharks, and I'm a swimmer, so I might sink a little bit, but I go back up.
Yeah.
But the idea is you want to improve yourself. You want to get better. So you're not going to fight the best guy to get better, because if you lose, you don't really know what you need to work on. So if you can fight a guy that's kind of at your level, then you fight a guy at your level, And so you build up that repertoire, that knowledge, and then you can go against a guy that's 14-2, like 10-5 or something like that. So you gradually get better.
I remember interviewing Wale Bamboje when he was in the UFC, and he was getting bombarded with people that just like harassing him, being like, "Oh,
he's my boy." Yeah, I met him.
He's awesome, man.
I met him right before he went to the UFC. Yeah.
He's very inspirational. He's a ball of energy, positive energy.
Yeah.
I love talking to that guy. We text all the time. He's taking a little time away right now, and promises he's going to give me an exclusive interview when he comes back, because he got pretty frustrated with what the media was saying and stuff like that. And one thing that stuck with me that he said to me in the first time I ever interviewed him, he was like, anyone who makes it to the UFC is pretty much a champion. Like, for anyone to say that this fighter sucks and they're in a UFC promotion, you're just out of your mind. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it's
crazy.
What I mean? Like, people still doubt Conor McGregor. People still doubt Khabib. People still doubt GSP. It's crazy.
Well, it's really crazy for people to like have that mentality of, they're like, oh man, that guy's not good because, but what's your caliber of good? You know what I mean? What have you done to
Yeah.
kind of qualify his skill? You know what I mean? So granted, there's always going to be people that are going to trash, and my dad has this phrase. He says, "Don't sweat the small stuff, and everything is small stuff." So when someone says something that doesn't really bother me, they're like, "Oh man, you sucked, and you got put out." I was like, "Oh, well, cool, yeah."
Well, you know what's crazy about the human psyche? I kind of said at the beginning, but they say that every time you get 17 positive remarks, somebody positive says something to you, it takes 17 positive remarks just to remove one negative remark. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
and a lot of people, they don't understand that their thoughts.
They hold on to that negative.
Yeah, their
Twitter
thoughts
comments.
Are, yeah. I mean, like, I don't really. Well, I use my Twitter sometimes, but
they're brutal on there.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, that's what they do. You know, I mean, that's how they get their rise out of. They wake up in the morning like, who am I going to try to piss off today?
Yeah.
You know, so
they love it. They love that shit.
But shoot, what was I saying? I forgot.
We're talking about people doubting people.
Oh yeah. So
Trolls.
your thoughts. Like, if you can control your thoughts, you can control your actions, and like having someone say something bad about you. As long as you don't think, it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? If you think that you're a horrible person or you don't have fight, then
you know the truth.
You know the truth. So don't let somebody else try to sway your opinion.
Do you look on Twitter, like, see comments like, "Oh man, you shouldn't have done this," or like, do you ever look on there and see that shit?
I go with Nick's to see what they say, because Nick is the
Nick has some good comebacks too.
Yeah, he's real funny with the comeback. So I like going to his, but you know what I mean. I see him every now and then, but it's no sweat off my back.
So one last thing, obviously you said you're probably going to return either CES, or CES at the end, or maybe even LFA. Was that even in the cards?
No, I don't think so. Because I'm still with, I think, because I had the contract before with CES before I went.
Oh yeah, you were supposed to fight Ron Stallings.
Yeah. I was supposed to fight Ron Stallings, and then
that's right.
They called me up to the UFC, so I'll probably fight him.
Yeah, big fight.
Yeah, I'll probably fight him. Hopefully we can get it at Foxwood so more people can come.
Because he's a UFC veteran.
Yeah, he's a UFC veteran. He just won. So ultimately, he'll probably try to fight one more time and try to fight for their title, their 85-pound title. So
that would be so awesome. Yeah, CES has a lot of awesome things going on. But until that time, you're obviously going to take some time off, relax, still go to the gym or whatnot.
Yeah, still train, yeah.
But Halloween's coming up, man. And obviously my show is Pure Evil MMA. So I can't wait for Halloween. You got anything special lined up? Do you go to Halloween parties? Do you dress up?
Well, like this year, I want to try to dress up, because my favorite action hero is Green Lantern. So I've been looking around, but I haven't found like the best Green Lantern costume. Most of them are like kind of.
Do you guys goof around at the gym like during the holidays and stuff?
Oh, every now and then.
Family?
What did we do last year? We did something. I forgot, but. Yeah, we just go out to eat and then go out to a Halloween party or something.
West Haven is popping for bars and stuff like that. It used to have like the longest strip in the USA, apparently, like a 50-bar strip, something crazy like that. Like West Haven's pretty.
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly, because there might still be some, but like when
it's not as crazy as it used to.
Yeah, it wasn't crazy as it used to. My friend Steve Morrell, he just opened up a bar, so we'll probably go check that out. But yeah, just chill, eat some candy.
Do you believe in like the afterlife or like ghosts and stuff?
Oh,
like
no,
that?
ghosts don't.
No, nothing creepy has ever happened to you?
You mean some creepy stuff.
Like what? Like something that you just can't explain?
Well, like there's these so
I love this shit. Yeah.
Like I believe in spirits. So, there's like
energy?
Well, energy does exist, energy, travels through us and all that. And I believe that there's evil spirits around us, no matter what. And I believe, like a lot of people that...
Or hosts.
A lot of people believe, like, when you die, you can either be a ghost or you go to heaven or all this stuff. And I believe when you're dead, and your soul goes back to... your creator, but
Stardust, yeah.
There are evil spirits that are among us on the earth, so that's what I believe ghosts are. So I don't like to call them ghosts. I just call them evil spirits or something like that. But there was this instance where I was sleeping, and when it's called sleep paralysis. So
where you can't move.
You can't move.
Wake up.
you wake up, you're aware, right? And so one day I was sleeping and I woke up and I couldn't move, and I opened my eyes and I look over to the side of the bed and there's this figure. I couldn't see anything except the eyes. The eyes were yellow, and I was like, "Get out of here!" And then it left. And then my fiance was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, there's something over there." And then I just went back to sleep.
You're sick, dude. What do you mean you just went back to sleep?
Oh, yeah.
I would have been out of the house.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I don't. Spirits don't really mess with me, just because I'm not really afraid of it. You know what I mean? Because
how long were you stuck? Like,
it's only about like maybe 15, 20 seconds.
That's a long time, though. That's
well,
a
yeah,
long
I mean,
time
like it's a long time. It's definitely a long time to be paralyzed. But yeah, you mean.
Nothing ever again happened after that? Just that one?
Just that one time.
It's like, oh shit, this dude practices BJJ. Like,
He's like, I'm out of here.
He trains at FAA, I'm out.
But yeah, that's I had another instance like that. It was like I was...
Same place?
No, it was back when I was in college. I was sleeping and I was like, you have a dream and then you actually move. You know what I mean? Like, you just...
Like you're falling and
you're falling. Well, like I was like, had a dream that I was reaching out to my brother's hand, and then I was like, my hand was out there, and I actually felt like something grabbed my hand, and then I opened my eyes, and there's a figure in there, and then I was like, what the... Well, like, see, that was the first time I experienced that, so I was like kind of freaked out.
So this is kind of a recurring thing.
Well, you mean not recurring? It's only happened twice.
That's more than a lot of people happen to. Like one more time and then.
Yeah, it's like something's up.
Yeah. Then you got to get to this the bottom. But usually, like when stuff like that happens, it goes back to someone's childhood or something like that. Like you don't have any memories, like because like I think that was like the most haunting time when I was a kid because you watch like Are You Afraid of the Dark and shit that. Like
well, like see, I think you're more, like kids are more susceptible to thoughts. So you know what I mean, like you watching a movie like that and then hearing something and then you're like, oh, did I see something? So I think kids' minds are more susceptible to it. But you know what I mean.
Dude, I would be so shocked. So I guess that's one of the first stories that we got because I'm setting up a series of fighters that are going to be coming on sharing ghost stories. So I was kind of shot in the dark to see if you had anything. That might be one of the best stories on the fucking series already, episode 1.
Well,
like, that's great. So before we end today's interview, obviously, I want to thank you for coming into the studio. But where do you stand right now with like family and stuff like that? Like, what are you going to be doing for work and?
Well, no, like I'm a project manager for a construction company.
Oh,
so
shit.
that's
good
what
money.
I mean, all right money. So you know, I mean, I do that as well as train and fight. So
what do they think at work? Like,
oh, they love it. You know, what I mean, they really love it. Like
they go up to the fights or?
Yeah, a couple people. Well, they tried to go up to the one where I was fighting for PFC, but that was the one that got scratched. Yeah, they definitely will if it's closer. You know, what I mean, my last one was in Rhode Island, and they really couldn't make it. So that's why I want Foxwoods because it's relatively closer. And then I can get a whole bunch of people to go.
It wouldn't be right, and I will get screamed at if I don't ask you. What is your prediction for Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Khabib's just gonna manhandle him.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean. Like McGregor has a punch. You know what I mean. He definitely has a punch. I believe if he gets him to the ground, like it's all over. You know what I mean. Granted, he might be able to get back up, but like as soon if Khabib finds out a way to take you down, he's going to take you down again, and try to hold you down. You know what I mean? He's just going to try to break your will. So, you know, I see it going one way.
Early or late?
I say, you know what I mean, he's probably going to grind him out and try to finish him in probably the third round.
I can't wait for this fight. Also, did you pay attention to Justin's fight this weekend?
Yeah.
What did you think about that? That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, he just set it up perfectly. You know what I mean? Especially with a fighting a taller guy, if you try to touch his punch, he's just going to come over top of it.
Did you see improvements in his style or anything like that?
Not really. I just saw him put him into a trap, you know, basically, because he couldn't move back, and he was moving back with his head up, and all he had to do is just make him try to touch one of his punches and then go over top.
Oh my God, this end of the year has been so exciting with a lot of Bellator, UFC. I mean, last MMA question before we let you go here. The Grand Prix is coming up. Bellator is going to be coming here. Matt Mitrione is going to be going up against... who the fuck is Matt fighting? I think Matt's fighting Ryan Bader, and then Chael Sonnen's fighting Fedor.
Yeah.
Who do you have in those two fights? Let's start with the Fedor versus Chael.
I don't know. like I'm just hoping to see a good fight out of these two. I just want to see a good fight.
Are you into watching like the legend fights?
Well, you know what I mean. I'm into it, but like I like not exciting, but interesting fight. So you know what I mean. This has the potential to be an interesting fight, or it might just be.
It's just like a nostalgic fight, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. You know, because Chael Sonnen is a good wrestler, and like Fedor is just a good fighter. So like you're interested to see what he can do against Chael's wrestling, but I'm kind of skeptic on Chael's abilities now. You know, like does he still have it? Does he still, because
I was surprised he squeezed by the last fight against Vanderlei and then also Rampage Jackson. Like, how'd you beat Rampage? Man? That's just crazy.
Yeah. So I just like seeing good fights, and this has the potential to be a good fight. And that's all I'm hoping for.
What about Matt Mitrione versus Bader? Because that's a really
I think
weird
Bader's.
fight.
I think Bader's gonna win.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Bader has found his thing. You know what I mean? Found his groove. You know what I mean? I think the UFC. I think it kind of got in his head a little bit, and going to a lower promotion. Like I think really he can go back to the UFC and still and dominate. Because I think he just needed to be restarted. You know what I mean?
Matt.
No, Bader. Because his skills were good.
He looks amazing.
Yeah, his skills are good. He's real quick. He's real powerful. But I think he kind of got stagnant and he wasn't kind of challenging himself in the gym enough. And I think because he got the belt now, he just wants to keep it and he wants to improve.
And now he can be the heavyweight champ too. Like on top of what?
Yeah.
The
So
fuck?
you know what I mean. Like that's. I think Ryan Bader definitely has this one.
There's so many exciting fights coming up, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Justin Sumter joining us in studio for the second part of today's podcast, and part 2, or the second episode, I guess, in studio, which is really awesome. I really want to have more people come down here. Anyone from your gym that we should keep our eyes on? I know that you're also training with a couple of.
Yeah, we got Eddie George. Eddie George is fighting in September in New York. We got Nick Quatrock, is a really good kickboxer. He's going to when is he fighting? I think he's fighting in September as well. So we got a big squad of guys, up and comers that are hungry and ready to succeed. And I mean, like this year was good, but next year is going to be even better. So I'm super excited for the future for FAA.
Can't wait. Thank you so much. Last but not least, Instagram, Twitter, where can people find you?
Justin the Fort Sumter. You can check me on Facebook or Fort Sumter MMA on Twitter and Instagram. So.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe down below. We got merch in the link below as well. Follow Justin on Instagram, Twitter, and all that. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, man.
All right, so last but not least, we got to take a thumbnail photo.
Okay.
So just lean in right here. Do it as if like you're punching me in the face. There we go. Perfect. All right, man. Thank you so much.
No, appreciate for having me, man.
I'll have this up on iTunes. It's already. Or wait. Let me stop that YouTube stream. Later, guys.